So we'll do a end of April update. So we started the season by putting the makeshift caterpillar tunnels, which we just use by timbers and plex tubing. And we just tie that the plastic wrap underneath. It's just 6 mil, nothing specific. Held up very well through the end of winter, beginning of spring, the cold, the warm, the windy. And so I'll show today the difference of what we have in the caterpillar tunnels versus what we put without the caterpillar tunnels. Everything has gone actually surprisingly much better than expected. We have a variety of magenta lettuce, which is going well. So this is just end of April, seeded mid-February, let sit inside until probably mid-March, transplanted out, and then this is up to the point where it is now. Different varieties of turnips that have been much better varieties that have worked with us previous to that. And this one just has more turnips and some kale and some kohlrabi in the back. So you see, even a month into spring, these are probably going to be nice and ready within the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then we can pull these veggies out in anticipation for the summer season. I've always struggled with the transplanting where it just didn't grow enough, and I was usually pulling out the spring crop before they even got me anything in order to plant the summer crop. So it was always a bit of a frustration point that they never came to fruition, but definitely with these little tunnels that has certainly helped them getting up to a point where now we can take them off, because it is now 60s and 70s, low 40s, 50s, so it should be sufficient enough to warm the soil to get them to the end. So we've done 4 of these. Everything worked well. It's nice because the sun is south here, so it gets ample amount of sun, so it really heats these beds up. Doesn't cook them too much because the ground is still quite cold. So it gets heat on top, but it doesn't overheat them because the ground sink of the cold dirt compensates for that. So I'm going to show you beds that were exposed and kind of see the comparison of when you don't have caterpillar tunnels. So these seeds are pretty much identical. 1 week later, probably transplanted about 1 or 2 weeks later than what you just saw in the caterpillar tunnels. And as you can see, as I'm getting closer to this, you see a lot more dirt than growth. So you can see a dramatic difference of what the caterpillar tunnels did to those crops versus ones that do not have anything. I will say these sort of trees, and the sun goes up and over, it doesn't get as much sun, but I don't think that amount of sun would then warrant the lack of growth here. I think it certainly had an effect, but nothing to the point of where we still pretty much have transplants and nothing really growing. So this is typically what I used to have with spring crops, where they're small, they're growing, they're healthy, they're fine, but by the time end of May occurs, there's really not much growth for them to a point where you can harvest anything outside of the leafy greens, and you're pretty much pulling these things, and it's been a waste of time. So in this case, it's kohlrabi, some potatoes over there, more kohlrabi, rutabagas, kohlrabi. The arugula kind of made it. There's some more lettuce over there in the radish beds. So they all survive even below freezing, but certainly the lack of a cover and a warm coat during the day has really prohibited a good amount of growth for these sorts of things. So if you have the space, if you have the ability to build those sorts of things, I highly recommend, because you can see there's a drastic difference between the two, and this is probably going to be a wash on these beds. Because they're certainly not going to have enough growth by the time I need to get into the late summer, early summer, late spring, early summer transplants. Other than that, everything is good to go.